Welcome to Phantom Zone, the podcast where we dredge the lakes of hell in search of the worst the cinematic world has to offer. Then we put it on trial for its various sins against humanity. And should a film be found guilty, it will be jettisoned into the far, vast recesses of space, a Phantom Zone, if you will. I'm your host, Adrian Torres, and joining me as always is my co-host Scott Daly. How are you doing, Scott?
I'm doing good, Adrian. That intro of yours gets longer every time you do it.
I think there's like 1 or 2 words that I added in there, but guess what? It's going to get even longer today because we have 2 guests with us, 2 fantastic fellow podcasters. They've got 2 podcasts that they do based here in Kansas City. One of them is called Nightmare Junkhead, and the other one is called Nerds of Nostalgia. And they are fantastic people coming on here because I know that they usually can stand certain movies better than most people, and sometimes better than Scott. So joining us today, we've got Greg D. and Genius McGee. How you doing, you guys?
I'm humbled.
You keep using that word fantastic, and for some reason I don't think you understand the meaning of that word. I think you're misusing it in our case here. I'm just going to put that out there.
I'm just being honest. You got like I hadn't listened to a ton of podcasts before I stumbled onto your guys's, and it's the one that helped me come out of my shell and said, you know what, I want to be able to do this. These guys are great to listen to, and you guys have a great rapport. So that's why I wanted you guys to be our first guests that we had on here.
Pressure's on.
The pressure's on.
I know, right?
Thanks,
no pressure.
You better
team go.
You better entertain the shit out of us.
Dance monkeys. Dip, zobble, dip.
We'll just do all the greatest hits right out of the way. If you're on home, this is where you take your drinks.
Yes, we made it 2 minutes into the episode and already Genius brought out Cosby.
No, that's just getting it out. Out of my system.
Just airing it out. At the same time, I'm going to apologize if I kind of sound like modern day Kathleen Turner. And that's because I'm fighting a cold at the moment. But I wanted to get this in, make sure we had it because we had to fit it in this month. And so we're going on. So if my voice cracks or it sounds like I've died for a moment, I'm still here.
This isn't your normal voice. I just thought this was how you talk.
Oh yeah, just get raspier and raspier.
By next episode, he will sound like Tom Waits. So,
or I'll get a tracheotomy just to be like, no, I'm just going to do it. You know? I want to sound like a 67-year-old female smoker from a 1980s PSA.
Welcome, everybody. We're going to talk about cool shit tonight. Yeah. I'm your host, Buck Flowers.
It'd be great if we were talking about some fantastic shit, but instead we are covering Ghoulies 3 tonight.
It is a fantastic shit.
The Ghoulies are best described like little insipid demon goblin characters who are obsessed with the Three Stooges and toilet humor because they literally come out of a toilet.
They're lesser gremlins, aren't they?
I guess. I mean, they're like really shitty gremlins.
Yes. They're Kmart gremlins.
They're always save gremlins.
Yes,
it's like
dollar store, if you will.
Oh no! If we're staying in the Midwest, it's a venture gremlins.
Regional.
The black and white square with the X or something through it. Yeah,
you go through the toy aisle and half the toys have already been opened and are missing like little accessories.
Really quickly,
can I get this one-armed He-Man?
Not to throw a tangent in here, but unfortunately, the only time I ever got my ass whooped in public was at the Venture in Overland Park near 95th and Metcalf. When my mother, in all of her glory, refused to buy me. It was the Masters of the Universe Attack Track, and she just didn't have enough cash on her. I was like, "Well, Mom, just write a check." And she's like, "Greg, I'm not going to do it right now." And I was like, "No, you're going to." And I apparently mouthed off because she whooped my ass in public, and I don't think I ever got that Attack Track. But Venture, I just got like a flashback. Actually,
like a wave of nostalgia. Woof.
It's weird that
1,000-yard stare.
You just described exactly how I felt while watching this entire movie.
Like you've been beat in public by a mom?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's spot on.
Mom Carl Buechler.
And I guess, is this about the best time of the podcast to go ahead and apologize to you and all the listeners? Just in terms of going through this, because I don't want to necessarily pull the
apologize first and then ask.
But we had a
later.
choice on some of these. We had a choice of films that we could go ahead and review and critique, and we had some good ones in there. And for some reason, I think Genius and I would just, we gravitate towards the horror aspect. And I'm so Scott, Adrian, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, it's more than fine, you guys. Well, no, I mean, that's how it always works when I throw it to Scott and I say, hey, Scott, which of these movies do you want? Because I don't want to just decide on a certain movie and then feel bad about it. This way, it's more so I can throw it on Scott and be like, hey, that's the one you chose, buddy.
Yeah, I still make him feel bad about it.
Right?
You try. So, Scott, as has been the question this month with each of the movies that we've covered, have you seen either of the first two Ghoulies?
Nope. Never seen these movies before.
Nope.
There you
So
go.
let me be the first to ask, how lost were you? Because if you don't see Ghoulies 1 and 2 by the third one,
Right?
come on.
Like you're lost.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's a really complicated, textured, layered movie that you really need to have the background.
It's the couscous of terrible shit.
Well, for those out there, IMDb, their synopsis is basically just one sentence and covers the majority of what happened. Well, yeah, it would work if it just said nope, I think. A college teacher brings the little creatures back to his campus where they proceed to terrorize the facility and the students. I mean, it hits it, but when they said that he brings it back, that makes it sound like he went somewhere to collect them, and he kind of accidentally conjures them up.
I think this entire movie was accidentally conjured up. Truth be told here, unfortunately. So in terms of can I just throw this out here? I want to pose a question to everyone here. Who is this movie made for?
Not us.
What audience? Because there's no blood.
Right.
The deaths are very kid friendly almost.
It's just goofy, like tongues being wrapped around people, and then the whole trying to be a comedy but not being funny.
But you also have straight up full frontal nudity.
Right. Like it was like a gore jam or a boner thing. Weird.
Who is this movie made for?
13-year-old boys with bad taste.
Yeah,
drop the mic.
In
that's
my
a broad
mind,
spectrum too.
Oh yeah, it's a giant spectrum. At the same time, in my mind, it feels like the worst of the worst in terms of the USA Up All Night movies that played in the mid '90s.
But I mean, what were they thinking? Like, hey, let's take this little demonic franchise, and you know what the kids love? They love the nudity and they love the Three Stooges. So let's put them together, and they'll go ape shit. Just some greasy producer. I don't know, but I just didn't work on so many different levels.
Well, I think there's somebody that we can pinpoint it on, but I feel bad because I know that it's probably not necessarily them, is the director, John Carl Buechler, who I even feel bad just putting his name out there because he's probably one of the most malign directors when it comes to horror, because he has what seems like good ideas, and then studios are basically like, oh, fuck your idea, we don't want to do that, this is what you're going to do instead.
He's definitely the victim of studio interference.
Yes.
From Friday the 13th to this to, and I don't know necessarily in terms of Troll if he had any issues with that, but I think Troll is probably his best well-received film out of most of them.
And yet he's got 5 movies that are in production right now.
Wow, good for him.
Yeah. Well, he's still working. I mean, but I think that he tried to go for something that he wasn't used to, It's like, hey, how can I make horror funny? Because I don't want to really make horror. And yet he really didn't kind of make anything with this one.
The trick is to make something that's not horror, nor is it funny.
It exists. It's there.
It's like, you know what? Let's make a boner jam for the kids. But I know I got some Ghoulies that I can add to the mix. And so it's just
Let me throw this out there. Is it bad when your title characters are the worst part of the film?
Yes. That's it. Well, they're tertiary characters at best. Like, it got to minute 40, and I'm like, okay, we've seen the Ghoulies for all of like 3 to 4 minutes out of the 40 minutes of runtime.
And you would kind of like edge into it. They tease you like, oh, someone's reciting the Latin in the comic again.
Oh, we're coming up. Hey, Mo.
Who finds a comic book in a hidden panel in a wall and then just immediately starts reading it out loud? Who does that?
No. Let's jump back for a second, because the movie opens, first of all, on a terrible, terrible miniature for whatever reason. There's plenty of other outside shots they have of buildings in the movie, but this one frat house is a miniature for the entire film, and nothing comes of it. But it starts out and it says that it's 20 years in the past. And it's got a guy who locks himself in a bathroom who's got the comic that controls the Ghoulies, even though the Ghoulies still kill him. Now, I've seen parts 1 and 2, and the way parts 1 and 2 work, there's no way for this opening scene to be possible.
I don't think they were really worried about continuity at this point with the third entry here, because you lose so much of what works. Actually, and I'm genuine when I say this, what actually works with the first 2 films, because jokes we made, the first 2 are, especially the first one, is a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's fun and it's campy, and even in the second one, there's some really good things in Ghoulies too. I like the whole atmosphere, and part 1 we showed on the big screen, and it's still a fun little demonic movie. But part 3 just fuck shit up.
Which is understandable. But then we jump to, like Scott says, that in modern day, which is 1990 by when the movie was made, they've got a guy who's, I guess he's supposed to be taking a shit, but he has his underwear like completely.
No, he's just doing graffiti, as you were back in the early 90s
in your own home,
in your own place. Yeah,
of course,
right.
That's authentic.
Can we take a second and discuss what the hell this bathroom is? Because, like,
the terror toilet that he's on.
It's the fucking chamber of secrets. it's like the all the other toilets are fucking rubbish except for that weird, like, ornate demonic
and which no one questions, except for the fact that I don't know if it's what everybody's majoring in, but I noticed towards the end of the movie when they walk back in to the house, right above the door. Of the outside of the frat house, it says architecture.
No, I think they were just letting you know what the building is. It is.
Oh, okay. Building is a piece of architecture.
Yeah, that's actually real stuff. 100% pure.
Yeah, don't read too much into this one here.
But who takes time to draw an entire comic book of ancient text? You know, that's a lot of shit. I don't even like taking notes, and let alone.
It's a very creative, like, anthropology nerd, that got bored. And just withdrew from society, but, found a way to manifest his inner demons.
Like Necronomicon Cliff Notes.
and then got one, like, publisher print copy made.
Yeah. It was a specialty press. Really indie. Right. Really indie.
Here's my question, though. Who plastered the thing in the wall? Who did that?
Oh.
Don't.
The party goers first one.
You can't. That was the first thing when revisiting this film, because it's been easily 15 years since I've seen this, and then when I revisiting, I remember why it's been a long time. But when that happened, that's when it kicked, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember. Just you can't read anything into this film, just nothing, unfortunately.
And then, like, shenanigans, do boner jams. You know what they majored in? They majored in pranks and shenanigans.
Everybody's into the pranks. It's prank week, and like the only person who's against the pranks are the campus security officer, and then the professor, who's the head of humanities, which de facto somehow makes him the dean of students at the same time.
That's not how that works. Nothing about this thing is college at all.
Another example of when Hollywood lies to us,
There's a lot. but yeah, it's prank week, and there's two main fraternities that are pranking each other, and the one where I guess our ostensible heroes is supposed to be kind of like I don't know how to describe it, because the movie wants to be like part Revenge of the Nerds, except for there aren't really any nerds, at least by how the movie treats it. And then it also wants to be Animal House, but then the people who are also the heroes aren't like the outcasts. They're also magically the cool kids.
Adrian, I wish you could read my notes right now, because it says rips off Revenge of the Nerds and Animal House.
Well, there we go.
Yeah, it's so obvious when it happens. When again revisiting it, I was just like, I looked to no one. I mean, I was by myself and I'm looking around as if there were people around me like, am I watching this? Like, because they straight up rip off where the whole scene in Animal House when Bluto is being all creepy and peeping Tom on the girl. Yeah. They recreate it with that creepy security guard who, let me tell you,
and the Ghoulies.
If they had a budget, that security guard could have been played by Rick Dukeman.
Jesus.
Come on, tell me that wouldn't have been at least would have elevated that role a little bit more.
Get more gravitas.
But the funny thing about that guy is he starts out like as just a bumbling security guard, and then they've got that one scene that happens like 3/4 of the way through the movie where it's just like, okay, we're gonna make him go full on creep mode for no reason.
Give me your underwear so I can protect it.
For a couple days.
His dark secret.
I think that's actually his trigger, unfortunately, and they unwisely chose him to be out on the night when the panty raids happen. It's much like Silent Night, Deadly Night, when they didn't know the Santa Claus would trigger Billy. This whole thing just triggered him, you know.
So this is his instead of punish, it's panties.
Panty. After all the ghoulie shenanigans they investigate, they find just like briefcases of panties with like different years.
Well, no, that's when Mariska Hargitay comes from the first Ghoulies.
Right. Dun dun. Yep. Ghoulies. Dun dun.
Scott, if you didn't know, Mariska Hargitay stars in the first Ghoulies. From way back in, what is that, 84 when that came out? Again, unfortunately, we keep hearkening back to the sequels.
The good old days. Before we went to college, times are simpler then. We just came to the world, and then we went to a carnival, and now we're in college and don't know what we're going to do.
Maybe that is more.
At the same time, you guys were talking about the cast. This movie has an interesting cast in that it's Matthew Lillard's first movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but all I have to say is he's the second male lead in Jag. And then he's also from Summer School and Heathers, playing the not Otter, but the Peter Rieger type character. Yeah. Okay, you mentioned Jocks, and I was trying to figure out the entire movie. The main character, whose name is Skippy Carter, first of all.
Skippy. How can you not get involved in shenanigans when your name is Skippy Carter? Come on now.
But he mentions to his on-again, off-again girlfriend, or she ends up giving back to him a Letterman jacket, and then he's wearing it later. But what does he have a Letterman's jacket for?
Do those exist in college?
Come on, man.
Is that a thing that's in college?
At this college, yes. At this college, absolutely. Not only can you letter in pranking, you can major in pranking.
You can sub-major in shenanigans. Yes. You know? So he's like, hey, I'm the junior varsity prank star.
Doing my tomfoolery portfolio in my final semester here. No, unfortunately, yeah, this film, I think it could have been so much fun. And I think that's the problem with a lot of the issues that John Carl Buechler has experienced. Like with his Friday the 13th, I think it could have been like the best one, but he ran into so many issues. And I think there was, underneath all of this film, there could be some good stuff. But the first part of this issue, like a problem here, it's an hour and like 34 minutes.
Yes.
Like, come on now. Like a film like this needs to be about 80 minutes trim and lean, right?
Yes. For a second there, I thought you were going to say that was too short. And I was like, whoa.
This needs to be a 3-hour Lord of the Ghoulies.
We need to know all the inner workings of the Ghoulies, of the mind of the Ghoulies.
I really need to feel their characters.
They each get an individual ending.
Right.
Okay, so the movie's how we get to the Ghoulies after the guy kicks the little plaster wall in and he finds the comic is the comic ends up showing up in the class for what is it? Okay, they say he is the professor of humanities, but what class is he teaching?
It's a high school class.
Because he starts out talking about Pandora.
Like, everyone's acting like it's high school. It's ridiculous. You're paying money to go to this college. Why are you throwing paper at each other in school and, like, mouthing off to your teacher? That's not what you do
it's
in
prank
college.
Week, Scott.
Yeah.
It's prank week.
That's crazy.
Setting off big-ass alligators.
But the main character, or the character who has the comic, who I guess he's trying to riff on a combination of D-Day and Pauly Shore for whatever reason. He ends up getting the comic taken from him by the professor, who's played by Kevin McCarthy, who is a great actor whose entire career was marred by being in some of the most ridiculous films known to man.
I love Kevin McCarthy. No, I really, really do. I enjoy every fucking thing he's in. He's just fucking just that little spice. My favorite Kevin McCarthy was UHF.
Yes.
I will say that he dove into this thing, head first. Like, he really gets into this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think he knew what kind of film he was in.
Yep.
He was the only one that I think a lot of them did for the most part. But he, like you said, he gives the film gravitas because oh my God, if you go through the films.
The crustiest crusty old Dean.
Well, I love how that's kind of a hidden reveal because at first he is just that. And I think it's just like probably a general intro to humanities course. I'm throwing my guess out there. But I love how you just go, oh, he's just the professor. But no, ta-da.
I will get you expelled and I'm the demon master.
I just love it. And by the way, I am the dean of you. Oh, sweet, sweet reveal.
So he gets a hold of the comic, and that evening after classes, he casually decides, not only am I going to read the comic, but I'm going to start to read the comic out loud as if I'm performing a ritual when I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm also going to make sure to write it down and then say it really excitedly. Like, I couldn't.
You're
track.
saying don't do this every time you read a comic.
No, I don't start, treating it like it's like Shakespeare, basically.
Like, it's not every day you're flipping through a book and you happen to see a demon with a tummy mouth that looks exactly like the comic that happens to be sitting right next to your desk. This doesn't just happen every day.
That's true.
Is that one of the latter parts of Pandora's box that I don't remember reading that was in the book he casually had?
I don't know, but if I'm reading scary stories to tell in the dark and I see a picture of like the fucking Denver Comic Con, then I'm going to be like, oh shit, that got that thing over there, man. I bought this at a bookstore. I don't know if I should take it back. Let's summon some ghoulies.
And he does by happenstance, just calls upon the ghoulies, and then seems kind of upset that they're like real.
Yes. What did he expect? He wrote it down.
There's such a disappointment to him, just like every student in that school. So maybe the ghoulies are a critique of the youth,
But in fairness, if you like found this all-powerful book and you're like, yes, I can summon the power and be all-knowing and let me summon these demons, and you get fucking greasy Three Stooges, I'd be kind of pissed off and disappointed too. I wanted like a magical genius, and I get Larry Moe and Slimy,
Is this the best time to address that issue of the fact that these ghoulies are really just subpar ghoulies?
They're terrible ghoulies. Like you said, the worst part about the movie is the fucking title of characters. So,
well, they even comment on it. It's a sad thing when the main one who's in all three of the films,
he'll get you in the end.
Yeah, but when he first pops out and the other two pop up, he ends up saying, "Oh, great! This is what I got to work with again. Stupid unions."
Oh God, that one went right by me. Yep, that's okay. So does that take any heat off of them then?
No, because they're still pieces of shit.
You can't polish a turd, Greg.
I know I tried.
So literally, you can't polish it because that's essentially what they're really, really hairy turds. A couple of them.
Oh, they're horrid. Well, they're so horrid. And if you, again, going back to especially that first one, they're just good old-fashioned practical effects. And then the second one,
they don't fucking talk.
No, they're
don't
just
talk
little
in the other
mindless-
ones? Holy shit.
No.
Mm-mm.
It's it's a weird, wacky film.
To make it like shenanigans and then to make it the Three Stooges. I mean, come on. And if you're going to go Three Stooges and if you're going to kill people, go fucking dark Three Stooges.
I guarantee someone saw Evil Dead 2 and they go, do that.
The kids love the horror, the comedy.
Someone some really old, that guy said Three Stooges.
I love the Three Stooges. I saw them back at the Bijou. That's what the kids are into.
Lost in translation, totally. Oh my God.
Okay, I actually have a question since we've got you guys here. When we're talking about part 3s and we're talking about horror comedies not necessarily working or that switch happening, so 2 are popping in my mind since you mentioned Evil Dead 2. Okay, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, and Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth, are when the movies start to take that turn into the more comedic aspect with their known lead quantities.
Yeah.
Do you think that's maybe what they were trying to go for with the Ghoulies, saying, hey, in these movies they went funny and those were still successful movies in those entries?
Potentially, and I think again that's one of those things where it does get lost in translation.
I think it's like, but with those you have to walk the fine line. For example, on Nightmare 3, it was the perfect balance of comedy and horror, and the comedy was done right, the horror was done good, and there was like you felt for these characters.
Hold on, you just said 2 things. Good, they did things good, exactly. Ghoulies, that's just it. They did things well. This movie, I'm so sorry.
No, and see, so this one they went too far with the comedy, like the whole, and it's not funny. And I'm sorry, but you have to be funny if you're going to make it the other. They just,
yeah, it's trying so hard to be funny. I mean, even like the soundtrack, it mixes into just how hard it's trying to be funny.
Yeah,
that's something that Scott and I have noticed in, this is, what are we on, number 15 now, Scott?
Yeah, I think so.
And through the movies, the lowest quality ones always have a couple telltale signs. Part of it deals to the music, and it usually sounds like they have a Casio, a clarinet, and an oboe are the only instruments that they could use for the soundtrack. And that's how this movie sounds too, from like the beginning with the little piano tinkle and then the wah wah. It's an element that's in all of them. And in the first kill, when the Ghoulies pop up and everything, and they terrorize the guy who basically found the comic in the first place, there is a callback that we've had happen in, I want to say, 10 or 11 out of the 15 movies. And that's because the guy, Wes, ends up getting a shot in the nuts. And here at Phantom Zone, that's basically a telltale quality that there's always some type of mutilation or shot to the junk in these movies.
So you're saying you're a podcast that's all about like bad stuff to the genitals. Then. You'll see a lot of that.
This podcast is a shot to the nuts.
Basically.
Yeah, this movie was truly a shot to the genitals.
But even in the beginning, it's like back to the comedy, that whole little like welcome to college shenanigans, and you'd have Kane Hodder rolling around in the mop bucket, you know.
And the level of pranks are so varied. Like in one prank, he admits that he dug up every water pipe in the entire campus and relayed it in order to just spray someone in the nuts with some water.
Yeah.
But the thing I don't get, people are capable of dying in this movie because people get killed. However, some of the pranks they pull and people survive, like the creepy
security guard,
like Officer Creepy. So like Officer Creepy, he should literally be dead 3 times over, but he's like, I guess the power of penny saved me or something. Because fucking Edna Krabappel gets like tongue tied.
Jeez.
Yeah,
that was that's what's her face? Marsha. Yeah,
Marsha Wallace. That's another one. And they do that whole literal, like the Ghoulies break the fourth wall and say, yeah, she wasn't Bob Newhart.
Oh, they've got like,
come on, you child ahead.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. See, that was the other thing. We're talking about the fact that this movie is rated R, but it's essentially PG-13 if you take out the nudity, because even when they have the Ghoulies are talking back to the dean, they throw back comments like, you're full of dingleberries.
Yeah. But it even looked like it should have been like a made for TV after school special, you know, like shenanigans gone wrong. It was just like, like you said, it like killed, like, here's some titties and dingleberries.
I do not know who this movie. No, you said it, Scott. It's 13-year-old boys. I mean, let's face it.
Titties and dingleberries.
And then you have to think back. You have to think back, though, to when this movie was made. You did not have the internet. So let's face it, if any film did have some nudity or the promise of nudity, not to get creeps and nostalgia, but at that time, you knew it, you sought it out. You had a little network of perverts that would pass that knowledge along. So,
yeah, but this movie is for them. I mean, it is 100%. It's an hour and 34 minutes long, and probably I'd say 20 to 30 of it is comprised of straight nudity. We've got a moment later on when the inevitable panty raid happens.
Oh, so weird. So weird.
The females are having this big speech, or the lead of the sorority says, hey, these guys are going to come, and we've got to be ready to take them down. And like a couple of them are holding baseball bats and lead pipes and stuff. And then when the guys do pop in, the girls run out with pillows and start hitting them, trying to steal their pants. And probably about 90% of the girls who are in the room are randomly completely naked. And I'm
of
like,
course, that's what you do.
The guys... Well, the guys are screaming and they're like, oh my God, we got to get out of here. And I'm like, you're college dudes and this is what's frightening to you?
Where's the punishment in this?
Well, this movie's really weirdly like uncomfortable with sex, right? Like I think it was written by a 13-year-old because like the main guy who finds the comic like is having 20-minute foreplay with that girl at the beginning, and then like she wants to have sex and he excuses himself and is like talking to his dick like, oh, glad we got out of there. It's like, what? What?
This thing was probably storyboarded on like a Trapper Keeper. Like seriously, no, that you hit it straight on, Scott, because whoever wrote this had no idea what sex is, because like in the horny blonde Veronica, she's played by Hope Marie Carlton. And so I'm watching this and I'm like, why does she look familiar? So number one, if you're a horror fan,
I know them titties.
If you're a horror fan, she shows up in A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4 as part of Joey's wet dream.
Yeah, in the bed.
Mm-hmm. And if you're a connoisseur of, I don't know what you'd call the genre, but Andy Sedaris films.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Hard Ticket to Hawaii, Day of the Warrior, all that kind of good stuff. She showed up in a lot of those as well. So, but she has probably one of my favorite lines in the film that I did get a genuine chuckle out of is like after I think like maybe that first 20-minute romp and they're kind of just sitting there and he's talking. She looks at him and she's like, don't ruin this by being reflective. Yes. Which I was like, okay, that's funny. That's funny.
That's sage advice.
Right.
Yes. And even towards the end of the film, when we have another couple are having sex, there's a dustbuster that's involved.
Yeah, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah. Is this how sex works? I don't know. Looks good to me.
And like that he makes the comment like he's supposed to be impressive, where he's like, "Oh, I bet Jeremy didn't have a dustbuster." It's like that's what he got to offer in this relationship. Now, that couple is Skippy and Aaron. And Aaron is kind of indicative of how weird this movie. Hold on, Genius. We'll get to this in a second. I can hear you in the background over there. Take a deep breath.
That's really creepy too, man. That was a very deep breath. Okay, this is a microphone.
Sorry.
But she, like, I counted. There's at least like 5 to 7 different times that she changes her mind from scene to scene on how she feels about Skip, and like she likes him, and then is mad that he didn't show up for a date. But the second that he doesn't show up for a date, she goes on a date with somebody else and basically starts dating this other guy. And then when Skippy apologizes to her, she's like, oh yeah, we can totally get back together. And she's telling him that she doesn't want to be with him because of the fact that he does all these pranks. And then by the end of the movie, she's totally okay with the fact that he's become prank king.
This woman doesn't make any sense. Let's just be honest here. She comes over to his house to break up with him, return his letter jacket, walks in the door, sees him standing next to a naked woman, because that just happens to people, apparently, and then storms out like she's mad with the jacket. So I don't understand why she came over here in the first place.
Scott, 13-year-old boy.
Yeah,
come on now.
It's 13-year-old boys because it has probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie when she walks outside after she's dumped him, because riding up is the leader of the preppy guys, Jeremy.
And
I
have a bone to pick with that.
That dude is an ass.
Well, no, but what I was going to say is this is the first time I can think of on celluloid where a dude who's a supposed jock because he was a letterman loses to a preppy dude who drives a moped.
The best part of the moped is it was shot as if that was really cool. like they shot it as if riding up on a moped is like the pinnacle of coolness.
Oh, we're gonna have words, my friend. We're gonna have words because
it does happen at Prank University, man.
Let me tell you something. As a man in quotation marks here that rides a scooter, I have some issues with this film and another film called Fade to Black, where the antagonist of the films are made to ride scooters and are portrayed in a negative light. That is an unfair stereotype against scooter people. Okay? I want to put that out there.
Unite. Form a little chain, circle some wagons.
Well, circle
scooters. Yes, that'd be awesome.
I just wanted to throw that out there.
Of us.
Just like a big unruly gang, like a motorcycle gang going from biker bar to biker bar. That'd be awesome. I would get a scooter.
But if you haven't checked out Fade to Black, if you can, check it out. It's quite good.
But I gotta say, you know what? I am 100% in agreement with you guys on Eva LaRue. Now,
Unleash the Kraken!
But I have to say, goddamn, for all the negative things we have to say about this, to me, the most positive thing is how beautiful she is. She is fantastic and just gorgeous. But at the same time, goddamn, that did piss me off. It's like, oh, you prank too much, so I'm going to go with this guy who pranks almost just as bad as you, And like, oops, and in fairness, some of the things did happen to Skip, happenstance, but at the same time, well, good thing I already had this date I was going on. I see how this is. It's like, goddamn, make up your fucking mind.
How fucking cold-blooded is it?
You're hot, but that only goes so far. I'd be pissed off to skip. You can skip on out,
It's so cold-blooded to break up with a guy and then have your new date meet you at his house.
That is fucked up.
It's so fucked
just someone that's well prepared, well planned. Come on now.
She's cold blooded.
Okay, now I do have to ask, because we've mentioned this Jeremy guy at the same time and our lead, because we spend way too much time with them, and they kind of bothered me a little bit because when I was looking at them, I was seeing other people. So I want you guys to tell me if I'm off base at all. But every time that I saw Skippy, he basically looked like your generic D-grade version of James Spader.
Yes, absolutely.
Genius, what's on this paper here?
Yeah, exact survey says James Spader.
I had him as kind of James Spader.
Okay, so
we'll blame Spader.
Okay, we'll see if the second one tracks then. Is the evil guy Jeremy? To me, basically looked like a grown-up version of Draco Malfoy.
Sure.
I can see that with the thing, but
now for the Nightmare Junkhead horror fans out there, I had not so Alan Kaiser from
that's what I had too, like albino Kaiser, just kind of because he was like
master race looking dude.
Yes, he was super Alan Kaiser.
No, they mentioned that several different times that the Aryan comment and about how his followers at the frat are goose steppers. Now, did you guys catch?
Yes,
did you guys catch what his last name was though? Did you guys catch what Jeremy's last name is?
No.
It's Heilman.
No,
Are you kidding me?
Way. Come on.
They say at the
Shit.
end, the officer, the security guard guy, at the end of it, when he's taken away, he goes, "You're coming with me, Heilman." And I was just like, whoa.
If anything, this movie is subtle, okay?
Nice.
That's amazing.
Wow.
He's driving his scooter listening to Wagner. He's going to prank. Dun, 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 dun. I shall have the panty panzer soon in the Frankenstein.
You know what we haven't talked about in like 20 minutes? The Ghoulies.
Just like the movie.
That's how it goes, though. Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Did we not cover the fantastic moment like 5 minutes after they arrive, where they decide to just randomly destroy the entire frat house and drink 2001 beers?
And so if you like the little continuity errors when you there's the little cut when the Ghoulies pull the thing and the beer falls on them, all the beer cans are empty
And they're already crushed.
Yeah.
Wah, wah. And then there's Richard Kind.
Yeah. Did you know that one there, guys? Who voices one of the little Ghoulies?
No.
What? Really?
Yeah, that was Richard Kind.
Oh dear God, that poor individual.
It's. But think about that, like respected character actor Richard Kind, much like a Jennifer Aniston. She's not a respected character actor, but once got their feet wet in the and I dare call this horror, but in the genre realm. I love that. Richard
Kind's kind of like, if you don't know who he is, he's kind of like that Shrek-looking dude from Spin City.
That's perfect. Perfect.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, like he just got that big chin and talking like, "Hey Mo, let's go do this," like they're doing in the Ghoulies, just kind of Shrekky.
I don't want to make it sound mad or mean to him, but they always usually cast him as the vaguely neurotic Jewish guy.
or like somebody with a trick up their sleeve, and he's also in Gotham as like the corrupt mayor.
Oh, I haven't watched Gotham, so I apologize.
I will never watch Gotham.
I would. Oh wow!
And then they left.
There went the audience.
Sorry.
Okay, we're trying to track the Ghoulies' involvement, and it's
0.
It's weird because they do all the shenanigans at the first frat house, which basically starts an even higher prank war for whatever reason. But yeah, McCarthy calls them back and is like, "Oh, this is what I'm going to do. I want you guys to steal the crown," which I guess there's a prank crown just for one person, even though it's an entire group of people. And he wants them to steal it so that it'll cause the two groups to start a prank war to end all prank wars so that he can expel them all.
That's his grand evil plan. To expel some stupid college students.
And yet, when that doesn't work, he then ups to straight murder.
But in fairness, if he's gonna kill anybody, why not kill the frat? Because I mean, seriously. Now, I think in Revenge of the Nerds, you cared about the little ragtag group of misfits, and even though these two frats are both ragtag groups of misfits, you still don't give a fucking shit about them. I didn't care. Let the Ghoulies kill them all in some grand fashion.
The only reason I cared about them was because of their connections to other films. Adrian, you said, Patrick Labruto. Yes. But also, did you notice Jason Scott
Lee? Yeah.
I didn't notice that.
He was the Asian stereotype.
Yep.
Oh, with the backwards baseball cap?
Which was so sad about his sound system getting murdered.
Yes. Oh, God.
Oh, that was too bad.
Yeah. No, that's rough. That's really rough. But no, I want to shout out to that hat, because that hat, not only did I rock that kind of hat back in the day, but that hat was a Batman hat. So I had the little flip up had a big Batman emblem on it. And then the roof of the cap, it was all these tiny little Batman signals. It was... Oh my God!
That sounds like a dope hat.
No, it wasn't. It made me still didn't get anyone talking to me, male or female. It was horrible.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was. I actually signed my 8th grade yearbook with the Batman logo.
Wow.
Sometimes the Dark Knight has to patrol alone, man.
I'm sorry I insulted Gotham.
Oh no, I've never watched it. No worries.
Okay, so he tells them that he wants them to kill Skippy, whatever. For I guess just because he doesn't like the kid and because it's not working out, that he can't get them expelled through normal pranking practices. That's when he decides to tell them that they need to murder him. And the Ghoulies, for all the mayhem and random people that they've killed, seem to really take offense that they're being tasked with killing this guy.
They're put off because they want to prank as well, man. Come on. They've been thrust into the heart of prank week, so to the point that they, like you said, they escalate everything. They become themselves their little own frat, their little monster frat. They're like,
we're exclusive club.
So why wouldn't they? Yeah, it's just, I don't know, man. You can't draw any rational thought from this stupid film.
But what confused me, I mean, they went out and they killed, but they didn't kill enough.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you're gonna have a little group of demon killers, fucking have them kill things. And 2, I can't kill you because of the book, but if I rip up the book, I can kill you and blah 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 blah. Just fucking makes some sense.
Can you guys tell me what the rules of the Ghoulies are? Because I don't understand this at all.
There are no rules.
Yeah.
It's college.
That's where you find yourself, and you make your own rules.
You make your own ghoulie.
And even the comic book itself, man. At that one point, it becomes like a Cronenberg comic when it gets all like
long live the new freshman.
Genius. Very good. Very good.
Oh my god.
So the Ghoulies fail, obviously, to kill Skippy. And Skippy ends up running into the preppy frat, and they grab him basically, and they've decided that they want to kill him as well, just because that's the escalation that's happened.
Again.
Right.
Aaron's with him and on his side, but he says, "Hey, go get help," because they're going to beat me up, because I guess he can't fight 6 people at once. And she runs off to go call the cops. And when she does, I guess she calls the operator at first, which gives her campus security, and they tell her to call 911 because they're not the real police. So she has to hang up and call 911, but in that time, the professor has shown up behind her and just casually takes the phone after she mentions there's a murder, and the police officer's like, "Oh, where are you?" And he takes the phone and just goes, "Oh, it's prank week," and hangs up, because that smooths it over with the police, I guess.
Well, that's the inherent issue you have when you have a major in shenanigans and pranks and all that stuff, man. It's gonna implode like this.
But I'm not even gonna lie. Whenever the dean did something nefarious like that, I always heard the UHF music sting that he has in that one. He hangs up the phone. Oh, it's just prank week. Bum 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 bum.
Oh, if we were only in UHF, come on
now. So he grabs Aaron and takes her to another room. Skippy breaks free and goes to find Aaron. And when he comes across Aaron, he sees that the Ghoulies are holding her down on a table with the professor above her, but and they're begging to torture her, even though her clothes have already been dirtied and tattered.
Looks sexy though, doesn't she?
No full reveal though, so they kept it classy, which I like. They showed some restraint finally in the film.
This is the precursor to if you like this one, get the unrated, unedited version. Too hot for ABC Family.
So he decides to use a gun that he has that's filled with glue and shoots the Ghoulies so that they freeze in the hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil poses.
Got pranked, Ghoulies.
Mess with the king.
They break free like quite easily, and because they don't really explain the rules of anything in the movie, Skippy's able to grab a hold of the comic, and just by touching it and the transitive property, he now controls the Ghoulies without having to say anything at all, and tells them to attack the professor, which causes them to then get struck and electrocuted by a light that's hanging down, which causes them to fuse into a puddle of acid on the floor, which actually was a cool reveal when they showed his body bubbling on the floor there.
It really was. That was a pretty sweet, like...
I have to imagine if Buechler had his hand in anything, it was probably something like that. Mm-hmm. Or maybe even the next effect coming up, because, say what you will, I kind of like the little final transformation that comes up here.
Tummy monster.
When he somehow through the body that's on the floor gives birth to the creation that's on the front of the Ghoulies comic. That's their master, which is a giant fucked up looking Quado or Krang on his face that's got a lot of hair around his face, and then caused hair to grow on the professor's arms. But then, for whatever reason, once he came back from being dead, decided that he was going to put the prank crown on his head. Because that's what he busts into the fraternity house in. And I don't know if you guys notice it, but I always love whenever they have a stunt double for somebody.
Oh, yes.
It blatantly doesn't match. And so Skippy and Aaron end up going up to the bathroom to lock themselves in there, not knowing anything about the toilet magically, which is important. The professor breaks through the door, but instead of it being Kevin McCarthy, it's somebody who looks like 30 years younger than him and is about a foot taller.
But once again, when he busts in with all that makeup, it was like UHF meets Dead Alive, and he's like, bum, 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 but, and I just died.
The first thing I thought of when I saw him was he looked like the end boss from Ghosts and Goblins with that little, little head thing. Yeah. I loved that effect, really though. Cool. It's his fight. Yeah, it's his final form, so of course he's going to wear a crown. I was like,
the final form where his chest face ends up talking at the same time that he's actually talking.
Yeah.
Are you guys saying that this stuff doesn't happen in the other Ghoulies movies?
Well, no. Well, technically, ultimately, there always is that final.
There's always like a final form. Yeah.
A final boss, technically. Yeah, it almost takes some video game logic there.
Are they able to defeat? I forget. Are they able to defeat that final form by magically using the toilet that the characters who are in the room have never seen or know the properties of?
Never once questioned in the entirety of their frats.
Hey, look at this cool toilet. I wonder if it's got something to do with the Ghoulies.
It's got a plaque above it that I couldn't read what it said, but it does have the date 1892 on it.
Abandon hope, all ye who enter.
All your ghoulie here.
Probably Latin for "they will get you in the end," or something like that.
Yeah.
For the learned, college educated, viewer
from Prank University.
Jeez. So they end up saving the day. Everything's fine, even though they decide to take a moment and bemoan that Wes is now dead, but dead with Veronica, and which makes them feel sorry for Wes.
Well, and the only reason they know that is because the bad guy lists the names of all the people he killed as he enters the house for some reason.
You gotta extol what you've done.
I guess so.
Right? They can't do a final reveal, so he's just going to have to the budget says we can't actually shoot these scenes, so I'm just going to throw them out here.
Here's King Ghoulie, and this is what I decree I have done.
And not only that, but after hearing that several of their friends are dead, and defeating this creature with a toilet, when their friends come in, they're all like Aaron and Skippy are remarkably well adjusted in like that few minutes to then be like, hey, everything's fun and we're talking about pranks again.
All of a sudden, Thornton Mellon comes out. Hey, let's party.
It wouldn't have been out of place because they storm in and they say, hey, by the way, we ended up winning the prank war. The judges voted in our favor. The judges who we've never seen in who are the people who are voting for this?
The Russian judge.
It's a callback to that committee that was following the cadets around in Police Academy 4. That committee they're always trying to impress. That all of a sudden you just see that's the beauty of Ghoulies Go to College. You rewatch it; they're all hidden in the background the entire movie.
So it's a little shadow Illuminati, like we will control the grades and the Ghoulies.
That's terrible to force anybody to go back and watch.
Go back to this.
Did you see in this scene? Did you guys hear about this? No, fuck you. I'm not watching it again.
I'll even admit I got this free on Vudu with ads,
and it was so
it just prolonged the pain,
Oh man, 15 more seconds reprieve, then I gotta go back to this shit. Fuck.
Once again, another episode that's unpaid by, but technically indirectly sponsored by Vudu.
Yeah, Vudu needs to give us some money. We've been really helping them out.
We've been telling everybody about the service. I mean, we're talking shit about the terrible movie selection. That
Vudu, your selection is terrible, but thank you. Give us money.
Boy, are you great in a pinch.
We do the same thing on Nightmare Junkhead with Shudder. Constantly.
Shudder and Netflix, and vintage stock.
Those are true. Okay, so this is going to be difficult, but we have to ask you guys, and we'll let you start it out, because if you guys are able to ramble on for a couple minutes, then Scott and I won't have to answer this. But we've got a segment that we call How I'd Fix It, and what you'd attempt to do if you were able to rework the movie or rewrite the movie to not be a piece of shit.
I think it's easy. I think you stay with the same. I'm going to speak for Misa and then Genius. But you have the basic template is there. I think you have college shenanigans. You have a Boner Jam-esque film, and then you insert Ghoulies into it. So it works so well on paper, but I think just the execution, they didn't have the money. But you up the horror. You don't make the Ghoulies funny. You let the human people be funny. But you create characters that you care about. There are some films that are out there that are the horror comedies, kind of like, well, and I wouldn't say Fright Night is a horror comedy per se, but like Return of the Living Dead. You kind of care for the characters, even though they're in this crazy, absurd situation. If you can give me some good, even if there's tropes or stereotypes or whatever, make them so that I care about them. Exactly. Up the level with the Ghoulies in terms of the horror. That's how I would make and create, because I think it's there, but it just went awry, unfortunately. What do you think, Genius?
I think you hit the nail right on the head. Don't make the Ghoulies funny, because they're not funny, and if you make the humans be the one, but also make your characters consistent, like the Eva LaRue, the whole like back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And if you're going to rely on tropes, make sure you do the tropes well. Make sure it's the jock versus the nerd or something. If you're going to get commented like, oh, you're just ripping off this and ripping off that, at least do it fucking well. And seriously, if you're going for slapstick, go for slapstick. If you're going for pure horror, go for pure horror. But choose. Yeah. God damn it. And because they had great potential, like you said. Eva LaRue is a beautiful maiden. Could be a great final girl. Kevin McCarthy is perfect as a crusty old dean, right? But if you're gonna get Blame Spader, don't call him fucking Skippy and make everything madcap shenanigan. As much as you want to fucking try it, and if you're gonna don't make the fucking monsters do it. God damn it.
And actually, I just want to throw out. He showed restraint, believe it or not necessarily with that, but with the Eva LaRue throughout the entirety of this podcast. So good job, Genius.
Thank you.
No problem.
Scott, what do you think?
I think that pretty much covers it. I don't know. I think don't let a 15-year-old kid sneak on their screenwriter dad's computer and add to this movie. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I think finding that fine line between horror and comedy is a big thing, and it's where they whiff. Whenever they go to the Ghoulies should be doing something horrific. They should be a threat. They should they should either terrify you or be getting to have cool kills that wow you. And the effects that are on display in a couple of the kills are solid, but they feel like it's for a different rated movie. If you decided to go PG-13 and you decide to make it more teenage friendly, you have to cut out lots of the nudity, but if you do that, you might be able to add more character elements that line up with that tone that you're weaving with the Ghoulies. If you're wanting it to be R and you're having that nudity, you have to go far with the Ghoulies. You have to have the Ghoulies be the wild card that are making everything elevated, whether it be because of the gore or what they're doing in general, as opposed to just having them be little nuisances throughout the film.
You're exactly right, because you have the potential there to have a wonderful R-rated Gremlins. I mean, you really do. You can even have it almost go to a critter aspect, but it's hard to walk the fine line, but it has been done and can be done. And this has potential to be a very viable remake, franchisey thing again, but just done in the right hands.
I think the bloodless aspect is odd given the people who made the film. Now, you guys know who produced it, or at least put it out, correct?
Was it Full Moon?
No. Starts with a V.
Vestron?
It's a Vestron video production.
Really?
They know better.
That makes you wonder then if we're going to get like a, God forbid this gets a special, one of those Blu-ray treatments they're putting out.
$39 Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Oh no. Shame.
Well, you know what? Actually, No, there's to be fair, there is. They just put out a part 3. Actually, to stay in true with the part 3, they put out Return of the Living Dead part 3 on Blu-ray. Vestron Video did, and that actually, it's not bad. It's not bad.
No, I quite like that one. But I mean, it has a set tone for that movie. Like, they understand the tone that they're doing. They don't have a ton of gore, but what they do is definitely out there past like this movie. Scott, if you're not familiar with Vestron Video, they were big in the 80s, and they did movies like Chopping Mall, the Waxworks films.
Oh, okay.
As we just mentioned, Return of the Living Dead Part 3. God, what was Blood Diner?
Yep, Chud 2.
Yeah. So this movie is kind of an outlier compared to the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
there's a reason for that.
No, it's funny that you mentioned Full Moon a second ago, because I was going to ask if you guys had a couple favorite miniature movies. Since the Ghoulies kind of are miniatures in a way, and they're puppets, but there's a whole slew of films out there that cover like demonic miniatures. Do you guys have any favorites?
Yes, in fact, the Subspecies is one of my favorites from Full Moon, because I did a little reverse engineering. I saw the sequel first, but it's when you're introduced to Radu. He talks like this. He got those long fingers. He's the Arsenio Hall, It's just, but it's so cool. And then he's got his little minions there that are the Subspecies, and they're so cool. And
blood demons.
This and like the Puppet Master series were kind of probably the bigger of the franchises they had.
Well, if they had there's fucking 12 Puppet Master movies.
What about you?
Well, shit. My two favorite ones, of course, are going to be, one is Gremlins. I love it, especially 2, and of course the Critters. I love the fucking Critter series a lot, like all 4 of them.
Would you say that you put a lot of yourself into the Critters film? Maybe something you program. They're going to be showing in April.
Yeah, perhaps.
Okay,
maybe.
Cool. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, Easter's coming.
What about you, Scott? Do you have any favorite movies?
It's Gremlins for me. I love. I saw the first Gremlins when I was a kid, and I fell in love with it. Both of them. They're just wonderful. Wonderful.
Yes.
Those are good options. For me, it's a series that's terrible, but has a special spot in my heart.
I'm shocked, Adrian.
I saw the first movie like when I was 5 years old. I saw a couple scenes from it when I was at a summer camp, basically. And I saw a scene in the movie that stuck with me, and I was like, holy shit, this is going to give me nightmares. And it did for years until I got into high school and rewatched the first 4 movies and said, wow, these are hilarious pieces of shit. And that series is the Puppet Master series.
Not surprised, because I can see when you're impressionable at a young age, the stop motion, the kind of how just unnatural it looks.
Mm-hmm.
That's genuinely scary. And they also, anything that's tiny, and
fuck all that noise.
That's genuine fear. But yeah, when you revisit it, you see some of the campy elements to it, and you can almost appreciate it on a new level.
So I got a question. Speaking of little miniature monster movies and stuff, have any of you ever seen, and I think it's pretty underrated because it's a lot of fun, Munchies?
Yes.
Munchies is a good R-rated Gremlins movie. It really is. I need to see it, but they're pretty mean. It's a lot of fun.
There were just such a slew
so many of those little monster movies.
And I think Charles Brand either actually produced every single one of them or directed the majority of them himself.
There's connective tissue right there, one way or the other, unfortunately, just through influence.
It actually ties back into Ghoulies, not number 3, though kind of indirectly, but the first Ghoulies movie was originally going to be directed by him, by Charles. And Buechler actually did the creature effects on the first movie.
I actually saw the first movie in the theater.
Nice.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Good cred.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we come to the moment of truth. We come to the vote. Now, since this is first time on, and I know that Greg has listened to an episode or two, but Genius, you have not. So the way voting works is we have guilty and not guilty. Guilty says that you think the movie is a horrible piece of trash and should be shot into the deep, deep recesses of space so that it can't hurt anyone ever again. Not guilty means that while it is a bad movie, it falls onto the more so bad it's good, or it's a movie that has warmed your heart and you want to save it to infect other people with the joy that it gives you.
Damn. Because, as much shit as we're talking about it on it, I can see some positive things in Ghoulies 3, one, it tried. It tried and failed, but I think I'm going to vote it off the island.
So guilty for you?
Yeah. Guilty.
One word. Guilty.
There we go. That's simple. Scott, what about you?
Yeah, it's guilty. This is kind of on the more harmless side of the spectrum for me. Like, it wasn't painful to watch this, but I still would not recommend anyone else watch this movie. And I have no desire. I know what you're saying about you guys are saying the first 2 are good. I have no desire to go watch those movies right now.
There's going to be no reverse engineering for this. Fuck you, Ghoulies. You and your franchise.
Even though you guys have already won, I'm still going to vote, and I'm going to say that, it needs to get out of here. It needs to be shot far away. 1 and 2 are okay; they're safe. But number 3, you're going to the Phantom Zone. It's the only thing that we can do to help humanity is that they don't have to see, hear, or know of this movie outside of this podcast episode. Next week, we are going to be rounding out the end of our part 3s for the month of March, and we're going to be covering RoboCop 3, which is much maligned in the series, but strangely enough, does connect to Ghoulies 3 because Eva LaRue is in RoboCop 3.
Oh, yeah!
It's a little Fred Decker classic, so to speak.
At last, a movie that I've seen the ones that came before it.
Hey! You get an applause there. Now, we like to go around at the very end and take a moment for where people can find us, what we've got going on in the future. So I'm going to throw it to you guys. I know that you guys have quite a bit in the works both with your show and then in the Kansas City area in general?
Oh, yeah. So just on Twitter at non-podcast, and then on for Facebook, Nerds and Nostalgia, Nightmare Junkhead is Nightmare Junk on Twitter and Nightmare Junkhead on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have your own.
Then you can hit me up at Genius McGee. Also, then check out the Kansas City Horror Club. And that's about it.
And then if you're in the Kansas City area, April 17th, we are doing our monthly Monday Mystery Movie Night. Mm-hmm. And it's basically, it's cool. Well, I'd like to think it's fun. Adrian, you've been there.
I enjoy it.
Yeah. Okay, good. We screen a flick and then we record a live episode of the Nerds and Nostalgia, and we talk about the film, and we get audience involvement. Adrian, you've been on many times. I'd like to think it's fun.
It is. You guys just this past Monday did Cannonball Run.
Cannonball.
And I'm still living it because I can report that the mustache is still here. So
yes, indeed.
And I'm a little upset that I didn't get to necessarily talk about how this is a non-ironic mustache, because when I grew up, mustaches were pretty badass, and so I know I'm not badass, but this is not ironic. Like this is I'm comfortable wearing this mustache now.
It's not a hipster stash.
It is not a hipster stash. No.
All right, and Scott, where can we find you, and what do you have going on?
I am on Twitter as well at ScottDaily85. It's DALY. And you can find me at dailyplanetfilms.com. I don't have as much cool stuff going on as these guys, but you can see all my writing and all the other podcasts and stuff we do there.
Yes. I can be found at Adrian Torres on Twitter, and we are talking on Thursday night right now. So once we get done with this, I will be finishing up a review that'll be on Boom Howdy tomorrow for the Power Rangers, because that's the life I live.
I bet you loved it.
Oh, well, let's put it this way: it's better than the movie I saw last Saturday, which was Boss Baby. Yeah, that's just how it goes. Well, I want to thank you guys for coming on. This was great.
Yeah, thanks so much.
I really enjoyed having you guys.
No worries.
That was fun, dude.
Pleasure. I had a blast talking. Even though suffering through Ghoulies Go to College, it's worth it when you get to discuss it in this kind of a form. Trash it and make some fun. But no, I love doing this, you guys. Thank you. And obviously, you'll be joining us soon on Nightmare Junkhead. Yes. We'll just throw that out there as part of our intro to the Mouth of March Madness tournament. Yeah,
I'm really excited for that. I filled out my bracket. There were some tough calls. Like through the first round, I felt fine, and as it started wearing on, I felt bad about decisions that I was making.
We've done our job, then.
Yep.
Thank you.
Well, until next time, everybody, thank you for listening, and we'll see ya. I'm a cold soul survivor, I've been known not to wait. In a land of confusion, no one's ready to face. If it's love that you're after, then you're in the wrong place, baby.